going, guys. We don't have time to watch the whole intro because we got so much to talk about tonight here on Modern Men episode 9. We got this wonderful chat. Those people are already hanging out. They're ready to go early. We got Mr. Gretzky hanging out in the chat. That guy, he knows him some modern comics, man. He loves him some Superman and some Archies. He's got a great collection, so check him out. And he's already got his popcorn ready. And then John's Comics with Kids. Look at this guy. He says, I only watch my own shows. Do other shows run on time where we all like? Here at Modern Men, we start 1 minute early, John. So take notes.
Early.
Yeah, we save most of the jokes for Wednesdays around here now. Oh, wait a minute. We got Whitewell Comics. Hey, and then my first subscriber ever, Fish Tropic. So, and I forgot Chris Barrett. Bad News Barrett's in the chat. And Samuel David. How's it going, guys? Happy to have everybody here on Modern Men as we get ready to discuss the origins of the movie era. But first, I want to introduce our panel. So we'll go ahead and start with our guest for the night. He's here. He wants to talk about some Black Hammer. We got Wonder Bear 84. What's going on, man?
Just taking a break from watching Wonder Woman trailer reactions.
Nice.
Super excited. Invisible Plane confirmed, you guys. Invisible Plane confirmed.
There you
A
go.
lot of trailers. So we got Wonder Woman. We got all the Crisis action going on the CW network. And then, of course, they hit a Ghostbusters trailer earlier this afternoon. So a lot of good stuff going on in the movie world and the TV world. Next up, we got straight over from Discovery Bay. JB, how's it going tonight?
You know, man, just hanging out today, doing my thing on Mondays. I put out a show today, and I'm really excited about this one. I enjoyed this. I can't wait to get to it. So let's go.
And then the only guy left with perfect attendance for Modern Men, we got Comic Man Andy. How's the beard doing?
Update on the beard. Update on the beard.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But I'm
Very
fat.
nice.
I'm sassy, and I'm ready to hibernate some comic books.
Here we
You're
go.
not sassy.
Right.
Since when are you sassy?
Working on it. Working on it.
All right. So before we hop into everything, we got a few plugs to go. So this is the last week for Drew Manchu's action figure contest. This is going until the 12th. So all you got to do once this video concludes, or go to any other video and put hashtag Comic Corp Smash, and you can be entered into Drew Manchu, baby. Sorry, I think it's trademarked on the list here that I'm not even reading out loud or in real life. But anyway, Comic Corp Smash gets you entered in this contest where you win this big giant Hulk action figure. So definitely check out his contest. There will be a drawing on the A Show on Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, every Friday here on the Comic Corp. Friday the 13th. So definitely check out that show for the live drawing to see who's going to win the Hulk a big action figure, I should say, not little at all. And then upcoming exciting community event. We here at the Comic Corps love the Hero Initiative, and Edwin from Strictly Comics is starting to host his own series of auctions on his channel. So that's over at Strictly Comics here on YouTube. That will be taking place on the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. The auctions start off at 99 cents, 7 p.m. Eastern, all 3 of those days. And all proceeds will be going to the Hero Initiative. And if you guys saw our coverage of Baltimore, I think you guys know what the Hero Initiative definitely means to us here at the Comic Corps. We love ourselves some Hero Initiative. So definitely big shout out to Edwin for hosting 3 of these auctions. Just like he teamed up with the Great Legend last year. They did it on Great Legends channel. This year it'll be on Edwin at Strictly Comics YouTube channel. So definitely check out those auctions. Check out the Drew contest. Without further ado, I want to turn over to our guest, Adam, because he wants to talk about Black Hammer or some black beard combs. Actually, they're all
Black
blue.
beard
You know what's
combs.
funny is this really does make a difference. Like I didn't think
Doesn't it?
I didn't think this would do anything, but I
Soothing,
feel-
right? It's a soothing, therapeutic type of.
Yeah, it's almost like a dog must feel when you're petting it or something.
And also, I'd like to shout out to 21 viewers watching live beard combing on the internet.
There we go.
Thank you
Great,
so much
great.
for that.
That's why they.
Hey,
tune
real
in,
quick
man.
on the, I
Come on.
don't want to interrupt, but that Drew Manchu contest, I just want to make sure I get this right. You could go to every video that is on Comic Corps
Yes.
and write that hashtag in there, and
Yep.
each one of those is considered an entry.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Separate. Okay.
I think
You
Gray
can
Matter
get
Hulk's
a-
in really like 10 trillion entries at this point.
Yeah, because you
Every
can have like a
video
ton
says
of entries.
Comic Core Smash, Gray Matter Hulk. So you guys got some work to do
Boom.
out there.
Okay.
I think Drew even said that if you make a video and submit it, that you get extra entries for that as well.
Hey,
Wow. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead,
glad you
Wonder Bear.
mentioned it. Bear, Black Hammer.
Oh, so
Black Hammer.
well, I'm not really prepared to do like a full recap because this is really just kind of introducing all the characters in the first volume here. But
It really is.
this
It really
to
is.
me-
Like, man,
oh, is that a floppy copy there, JB,
yeah.
or is that just the trade?
That's just a trade. Just a trade.
Oh, cool. Looks like it's got some wear and tear. So you've been reading it for real.
There you go.
Anyway, this to me is Jeff Lemire's magnum opus. You guys know I'm a big Jeff Lemire fan. He's created a world with really fleshed out characters, very colorful characters, based on many of the characters that we already know, such as Shazam. I'd say Golden Gale is Shazam. Would you guys agree? With the word Zafran that you have to say.
Yeah.
You got Barbalian, who is like a Martian Manhunter type deal there. Black Hammer himself would, I guess, be sort of a Thor. But they're all stuck on a farm. There are a bunch of, we learn, former heroes who are now have been stuck on a farm for 10 years, and they're still trying to find a way out. And obviously, the reader wonders.
Where are they from?
I believe is it called Spiral City?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a take on, it was Flash from Circle City?
Central
Okay.
City.
Central City.
Central
What is
City,
Circle
got
City?
it.
That's somewhere.
But
So
this is a
anyway.
parallel.
Been closed for
This
years.
is they're from a parallel universe. They're not from this planet, right? Or am
Yeah.
I missing that? Okay, sorry.
There's 7 heroes in the story. One of them has died trying to leave the farm, and the 6 remaining have been trying to figure out a way to escape and get back to their old lives. And many of them are going very restless, such as, well, Golden Gale in particular, who is stuck in the body of a little girl, which happens anytime she says the magic word Zafram, which she obviously said before the incident that sent them to this farm. She's getting really frustrated because she's supposed to be a woman in her 50s, and she says things like, I miss having tits, which is one of my favorite lines because it just comes out of nowhere. There's this little girl, and she's like, I miss having tits. And you're like, whoa. Okay.
I don't.
I guess we're, yeah, miss having moobs, right? But yeah, it's just, they're sort of just struggling with their past. They're having a lot of memories and flashbacks and things like that. Lemire's writing is clever as you'd ever want it to be. He's at the top of his game here.
Yep.
And this is really just the first. This trade collects maybe the first 6 issues.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of this, and especially like in the 3rd volume, I believe there's a major twist / reveal, which we probably don't want to get into tonight, unless you want me to spoil it for you guys.
No,
No,
please don't.
no.
Okay. All right.
I've only got through the.
I'm gonna go get volume 2. I mean, this was such a great setup that I'm
Yeah.
just
He's just setting the table. It's kind of like each character gets an issue, kind of, right?
Yeah. If
It
you know
did,
it,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, each
But
issue.
now you get to the end of it and you're like, now what? Now I'm literally running out to grab the next volume tomorrow or Wednesday when I go into the, grab my comic books.
That's exactly how I felt when I finished the first trade.
Yeah, I had no idea what Black Hammer was. I've never read it prior to this afternoon or anything like that. But I read it finally. I just did it all in one sitting, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought they did it. It was just like the perfect first trade, in my opinion. The first issue does a pretty decent job of explaining like why these characters are together, but leaving enough intrigue and mystery to make you keep reading further. Because it doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you just enough to like, maybe I'll go ahead and read issue 2, and then issues 2 through 6. You pretty much get like a mini origin story for each character.
Of each of the
So
characters.
I don't
Yeah.
really think you could ask for a better first trade than Black Hammer.
No, I mean, can you imagine the frustration of a 55-year-old woman being stuck in a 9-year-old's body and doing 4th grade for the 10th time?
And she hates going to school, and she's
Right.
smoking cigarettes in school.
Yeah.
And
Being a smoker.
Principal's like,
He
nobody
goes to
smokes
put
at
her
your
on the
age.
bus on the first day of school. Put her on the bus on the first day of school, and he's like, "Have you been drinking?" What the fuck else you want me to do? I gotta do fourth grade again.
It's like you
That was
smell
one of
like gin.
I can't
That
do
was one
it.
of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I think my two
Yeah.
favorite characters were her. I think her name was Gail, if I remember right.
Golden Gale, yeah.
Golden
Golden
Gale.
Gale,
And then my other favorite issue is probably issue 6.
Yeah,
With like,
witch.
the House of Secrets, House of Mystery style witch, where they even
Yes.
paid tribute to Lynn Wine and Bernie Wrightson when they had like
Yes.
Lenny and Bernie going and explore this haunted cabin, and then Bernie ends up turning into a swamp creature and all that
Yeah.
crazy stuff. So I really enjoyed that.
That seeds a child that, it's going to be very interesting. I got to find out what happens. No, I thought it was great.
What about you, Andy? Did you have a favorite issue or character throughout this trade?
My favorite character is Talkie Walkie.
Really?
The entire time I'm reading this is like, God, why the hell would he write the name Talkie instead of just Walkie Talkie? Everybody's used to saying Walkie Talkie. So this entire time I'm reading is like stop and read it a second time. I'm like, damn it, he's making me stop and reread it again. And my favorite scene in here is it's kind of hard to pick up.
I know where you're going.
Talkie Walkie is actually a female.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to pick up when you're reading, but then she kind of makes some quips about being stuck in the kitchen and cooking for everybody.
Yeah. And then you're going to send me to the barn.
Yeah. And then she has to leave because someone like a regular person's coming over for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she goes on this like paragraph rant about being stuck and cooking for everybody and not doing everything. That's my favorite character in there.
Can I just say real quick, my favorite part about that issue was after she complains about having to cook the meal and disappear, Barbalian, the rest of the issue, is talking about, oh yeah, I slaved over this all day. He's taking credit for it, thinking that maybe out in the barn, Talkie Walkie can hear what he's saying.
Yeah, that's really good.
I mean, if you're gonna go character wise, this was my favorite character. This guy was he was
Really?
weird and I don't come on guys, I don't know. When you have to give characters voices in your head. You got to give them a cadence. You've got to give them something when you're reading him. And when I saw the weird, kind of freaky outline that he has around his thing, I gave him in my mind just a really funky, weird, spooky, cryptic kind of voice. So when I read him, I'm like, this guy's cool. This guy's cool. This guy's cool. This guy. So I was digging him the whole time. And I think
are you not going to do the voice for us?
No, I'm not doing the voice. No, I'm not.
Oh, come on now.
Why not, KB? It would be so fun.
Well, it was one of his first scenes because that's when I was like tripping out on this guy. This guy is weird.
Actually, one of his scenes,
he just appears in people's rooms out of nowhere and creeps them out.
That was a great scene with the kid. She's like, dude, you can't fucking do that. What's wrong with you?
How do you know I'm not nude? He's like, I just knew.
No, that's the way I played him. Let me get to something like that. Where is he? Fuck. Keep talking about something while I find a scene for him.
Well, so this was my first exposure to Jeff Lemire, and not having any understanding of his style of writing beforehand, I wasn't sure what to get into. And I will say it felt slow, but it felt slow with hooks. Like every time I felt like, man, all of a sudden I get hooked with something that would drag me back in and read more. And what he's doing, it's not slow because he doesn't know what he's doing. It's slow. He's world building. He's character building. And this whole first trade paperback is building this immersive, crazy world that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And I got to go read the second one now.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Like I said, I know me and Andy had our panels of the week. I couldn't show Andy's because it had a little bit of nudity in it. And I didn't want to get his flag.
Was this panel with nudity?
I think the Colonel Weird issue had the best start of the whole trade so far for me.
Yeah.
To say the least. So,
and let me see if I can find something close without that. Yeah, that was really good. That was probably my favorite issue art wise.
I think the Martian kind of issue was kind of cool too, where he's a shapeshifter, and from the first word he hears is the first word, the first words he's repeating, and he's literally just because I didn't have training for this. You'll figure it out.
That para world they go into in that body's just dismembered piece by piece. That was crazy.
So, Bear, have you read this whole series so far?
Have you?
I've read up till. I've read the second trade.
Okay.
this one called The Event. And then there's Age of Doom Part 1. I don't know if Age of Doom Part 2 is out yet.
Oh, okay.
But
So
the big twist is at the end of Age of Doom Part
So
1.
Okay,
Age
and
of
that's
Doom Part 1 number, technically book 3.
Yeah, which sort of explains everything, but of course puts them into a new predicament so the story can continue.
Nice.
Which is good. Can I just take a second and appreciate how the names that Jeff Lemire came up with for these characters?
Yes, please.
Yes, please do.
Slam. Abraham
Yeah.
Slam is just a fun, like, I want to go through life with the name Abraham Slam. The Martian Manhunter Barbalian takes the name Mark Marks.
Mark Marks.
Just like
Yeah.
John Johns would be Martian Manhunter. And
Everybody on his planet had those types of names. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely fun.
And then, of course, I think Gail's name is Gail Garnett or something. Of course, the old trope of having like a first name, last name start with the same letter. Classic comic books stuff going on there. But I just, I asked Jeff Lemire at Baltimore. I was like, can you show us the look on your face when you came up with Abraham Slam? And he's like, it was too good. I can't reproduce it.
So each of the characters is based off of somebody that we know, right? You've got the guy who's kind of like Captain America because he's too weak and scrawny to get into but then he ends up, working out. What's that? Sam, the Abraham Sam. So
Abraham Slam.
Would you consider him the Captain America type?
I wouldn't.
On the beginning of his story, because that's what I was thinking. Oh, I couldn't get into any of the military. I'm too scrawny. I'm too small, and that's kind of where I was. And if you look at his costume, he's got the wings on his head.
Yeah,
he's got the little wings on his head.
I think he's maybe a combination of Captain America and like Batman because he doesn't have any powers.
Okay, that's interesting. That's true.
Which to me is the signature of Batman, just not having any powers and just being brave enough to go out there and get it done.
What are all the other characters based off of? Like, what would Weirdo be based off of? Like, if he wasn't all
a little bit of Adam Strange and Strange Adventures vibe from that character.
Okay.
I feel like he probably read some Strange Adventures, and then of course you get the House of Mysteries, House of Secrets style with the horror style character, and
the
then,
witch
of course,
at the end.
Exactly. And then of course you got the Shazam / Captain Marvel
That's it.
character.
The
That one's
Shazam
pretty
was the
obvious.
girl.
Yeah, that's Gail.
Yep.
Right at the beginning, her story is the trope of Shazam. If you say my name, and now she's saying it in this universe, and it's not happening. She's getting frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So, Zaphram is what she says, right?
Yep.
Total.
Zafram is the way I read it.
Zafram. She's whispering it to herself, and now she's Zafram.
Well, that's when she got caught smoking cigarettes. She was in the bathroom trying to say Zafram, and the lady comes in. She's like, "Are you a fourth grader who's smoking right now?"
Well, the teacher's like, the grandpa goes in there, and he's like, "Oh, I can take care of it." She goes, "Really? I don't think your words hold any water anymore because fourth graders don't smoke cigarettes."
This is not a thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, any final closing thoughts on Black Hammer? I think we could all agree it's probably better than Red Goblin, at least, right?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember there being some option news earlier this year, like way early 2019.
Really?
There was talk about, and I can't remember if it was about a show or a movie, but God, I hope this gets done into something and it gets done really well because this is good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was
I think
definitely.
it would probably be better as a show since there are so many characters to introduce.
I agree. You know what I felt
definitely.
a huge vibe of in this was the Doom Patrol show I just watched. You have like all these superhero type characters, but they have all these flaws. When they come together, it's not exactly perfection. They kind of need to be together at the end of the day, but they kind of don't want to be. So I definitely felt a big Doom Patrol vibe while reading this.
That's a good call. It's a very good call. Guys, keep reading. It doesn't drop off. The quality does not drop off. I promise you.
All right.
I'm giving this a solid 9.0.
I'd agree with that. I'd put it right in. I'd maybe say 9.2. Put it in that.
Yeah,
I put it just
right in that 9294. I thought I'm going to go buy the next freaking trade. I mean, I got to figure out what the hell happens here. I love the cliffhangers at the end. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
You know, at first I was going to call Bear and Drew out on their coup from last week, and legend that rhyme was kind of for you. See, double rhyme. Figure you enjoy that. But anyway, I noticed we hit the randomize button 7 times, and I know the first time was Kingdom Come, and I really wanted to read Kingdom Come. So that's going to be on the randomizer.
And when you do the randomizer, it's only the one time.
Just one.
Just
all I need is
just
one. But anyway, thank you so much for the suggestion. I think it was Drew's, but you definitely backed it up, and we appreciate you coming on. So, Bear, any final thoughts before we move on from this topic?
I just love this story. I give it about a 9.2 as well. And the art by Dean Ormston might take a little bit of getting used to, but once you're in, it's spectacular. The detail that he provides on a lot of this. He actually he had a stroke at some point during, I think, the first run of this, and there was a big delay on getting him back to work. I don't think there were fill-in artists. I know there were some cover fill-ins while he was gone, but he had to work and relearn how to draw, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But there's even the stories behind this story are interesting, and I just think that it's a comic book worth your money in every single way.
Yeah, the art truly brings this story to 100%. You know what I mean? Like a good story will always be a good story, but that art just sells it, just slams it home.
And Abraham slams it home. It really does.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, man. If you guys want to see more Bear Island comics, check out the description below. It is all in there. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Modern Men. And thanks for filling in last week, man. I appreciate it.
This is creepy. It's like spiders.
Yeah. I'm just going to put an end to this, man.
All right.
The body's zooming in on you specifically. So later, man. Oh, no, not me. There we go. No, all right. So, those coming in tonight, you probably saw in the title. We're going to go into the movies. So, we're going to take
movies that changed it all.
Yeah, we're going to pull our noses out of the books for a minute to kind of study what's going on today in terms of the way we collect, the way Marvel, DC, and other comic publishers put out their books. It's kind of controlled by the movies, and we need to kind of analyze why it's controlled by the movies, because I feel like, obviously anything Marvel and DC does, they kind of put out their stuff based on what's coming out in the movie theater. The way the secondhand market works, which we all know and love here in the comic book collecting community, it's pretty much controlled by whatever Marvel announces next or whatever trailer DC puts out, so on and so forth. So I think it's time to, dive into part 1 of, Modern Men at the Movies, I guess. So I think, it's quickly going over what happened, because I just titled this, I think, 1998 to 2008, but pre-1998, obviously, there wasn't tons going on, but you still had some good footnotes. So the main ones for me are 1978 Superman and the Superman franchise going into the 80s. Yep. And then Batman in 1989, of course. Those for me are the big two that kind of introduced comic book movies into, made it so people were like, man, maybe these funny books can be made into some pretty good movies. So I think if you didn't have those two movies, who knows what would exist today, even if comics would be around without those two movies. So I think those two are very important. Unfortunately, going into the 90s, a lot of these franchises ran their course, to say the least. On the Superman side, eventually Superman 3 tanked in the 80s. So in the late 80s, they sold the rights to Superman 4 to freaking Canon Film Groups, makers of such movies as Death Wish and I believe the Masters of the Universe movie.
Oh, come on.
That was
nice, cheesy entertainment.
Horrible.
Those were
not befitting of Superman.
Masters of the Universe was horrible.
Yes. So that was on the Superman side. The Batman side going into 1997, Batman and Robin. It's not good. It's terrible. It's the first time
I actually think I walked out of the theater on one of those.
I wish I was old enough
got
to
up and
drive
walked
back
out
then, so I could have walked out and
that.
got in a car. I was young enough to where my brother and my sister, I think we went and saw it all together. and it was the first time I ever walked in and out of a theater mad. First time ever. I was never been so disappointed in a movie, but that's where the Batman franchise, it was so bad it canned probably the most profitable comic book character besides Spider-Man. That's arguable, of course. It canned it for almost 8 years, the better part of a decade. That movie is so bad. So the only movie I could kind of think of, and I'm sure, please chat, throw some ideas and
throw it out there.
In there. I think the only movie that's kind of even worth maybe noting from the 80s till 98 that we haven't talked about is maybe The Crow. So I think The Crow is a phenomenal movie. Unfortunately, it's got this, that leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth because Brandon Lee was tragically killed on set during a stunt with a bullet that, it was just a bad prop gun, basically. But if you watch that movie, it's a solid movie. Yeah. So Andy, did you watch The Crow and enjoy that one?
Oh yeah. I need to go back and watch it again. I'm due for another watch on that. I try to watch it every couple of years. I want to go just long enough that when I watch it again, I'm pleasantly surprised that because I hate watching a movie and then reminded like, oh yeah, this happens. I watch it every couple of years. Yeah, I love it.
What about you, JB?
I consider The Crow one of those movies that if I'm flipping the channels it's on, I don't change it.
I'm the same way.
I watch it every single time I find it.
Yeah, so I absolutely think that is kind of like, I guess if there was like an origin Mount Rushmore for comic movies, I would say that's one of the 4. So the next one, and I think this is where we start the modern movie era, in my opinion, 1998 Blade.
Thank you.
I know you want to talk about 1998 Blade, so go ahead.
What you guys just described The Crow for you, Blade is for me, because I trail you guys by just a couple of years. Now, Blade, mind you, wasn't a perfect movie. It wasn't the best movie, but it was my introduction to superhero movies, 1998. I was still in high school at the time. And then right after that, The Matrix. Doesn't quite tie in completely with the show, but Blade and The Matrix were the 2 first DVDs I ever bought. Played them on the computer all the time. The time. And that's one of those movies where anytime I'm flipping the channel and I see it on, I don't change the channel. I watch it every time. I DVR it every time. And oddly enough, Blade isn't Blade's not available on Netflix. It's not available on Hulu. It's not available on you can get it on Amazon if you pay like $15 or $20 to like own it. But it's not available for rent anywhere really. You have to actually physically buy it.
Is that a Sony property? I mean, who owns
I think you're right. I think it's a Sony property.
The Sony property?
That kind of brings up a good question. It's one of the ways I was going to direct this topic, and the early part of it is, I believe, if I remember right, like I said, the research I do, it's usually just here. But anyway, if I remember, I believe New Line Cinema had the rights to Blade. I could be wrong on that. Someone correct me if I am, but I believe New Line had the rights to Blade. But that calls in question, what's with all these crazy early film rights? And I think that has to do with December 27th, 1996, which that's a date I did look up. That's the date Marvel filed for bankruptcy.
So they started selling properties off.
Yes.
So they were like
96, Marvel was just bleeding
what you
money.
What you want. Oh, you want Blade? Give me a deal right here. What you want?
Yep. So we talked about how bad 90s movies were in terms of comic book movies, but also the comic books themselves. At that point, I mean, there was so much bait and switching and crazy weird events and artists defecting to other companies and such. Comics were a mess, unfortunately. It is what it is. I mean, I love the 90s. That's why we're here mainly, but at the same time, it was so bad for Marvel, they had to declare bankruptcy. I don't even think they had Stan Lee on their side at this point. I think he broke off and created his company Excelsior.
Oh, wow.
So they're even kind of having a little bit of legal trouble with Stan Lee himself with these properties.
I got a question for you. Do you guys remember? One thing I remember most about Blade of all the comic book movies was it was pretty freaking bloody. And I don't remember a comic book movie prior to that being as bloody. Do you, can you think of one, Seawood, prior to that? I mean, you got the list in front of you. Prior to Blade,
about the Crow,
they tried to be cutesy fartsy and I'm going to get, we're going to fight and you may see explosions, but we're not going to just start blowing people, cutting people's heads off.
It did have that rare R rating for an early comic book.
Yeah.
So
And that's what made it so like, damn,
Yeah,
and that's
dude, he
that's
just
what a
cut
lot
his fucking head off.
a lot of people are talking about with movies right now is getting back to that R rating and whether or not it's beneficial for the movie or the community, one or the other. But I think the R rating helps take a lot of these movies to another level where
It takes it to adult status. It takes it to I'm not watching a kid movie.
And this argument, this debate was talked about with a couple of my friends and I, where they're like you factor out a lot of people if you throw out an R rating, and I'm like, well, those people that you talk about, I feel like are the minority in the world. With everybody else that's 17 and older, I'll go back 2, 3, 4 times to watch a really good R rated movie. I won't go back to watch a PG-13 movie a lot of times because they just don't pull me back in. Blade is that kind of R-rated superhero movie that I keep watching over and over and over.
All right, what's the next movie on the
All right,
list?
so going into 1999, you're not getting too much. I think the best thing you had was Mystery Men, so we'll just keep going.
Oh,
You get to 2000. So we talked about how New Line had the rights to Blade. Around this point, Sony would negotiate and get the rights to Spider-Man, which was
Here we
huge
go.
deal, obviously. But the next, well, some people consider the first really big one that started this era, which we talked about Blade, but a lot of people, they want to start in 2000 because Fox, they got X-Men. So X-Men. I think that's the one that was the real head turner. So JB, what do you remember about the X-Men movie when that came out?
Huge for me. The adaptation of my favorite team growing up, the comics that I read, the representation of Wolverine and Professor. It was just everything, and it fed almost all the check boxes I had wanted early on, and like I came out of that going, yeah, I'm going to see that again. That was awesome. I loved it.
What about you, Andy?
Absolutely.
What I really loved about it is when they delivered that a lot of the characters were underutilized, unknown. I felt like I was being delivered like a fresh cast of people that I didn't know. And it was building a world and building a story that I didn't feel like every time I looked at somebody, I remembered them for something else. You know, it's like X-Men. This is where they realized they could capitalize on Hugh Jackman for like 2 decades.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, his introduction, his whole first scene was just what sold it for me. I mean, the fight scene in the bar and the Rogue and everything, that was just
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because I was a big fan of the cartoon. That's how I knew the X-Men the most. So I watched the cartoon. That eventually got into the Onslaught era of comics, which, yeah, some people aren't big fans of it. But that's the X-Men I had back in the day. That's all I had. So I enjoyed that. But this is when I specifically remember the comic books themselves, looking at the movies and being like, what do we need to do to capitalize on the sales of the movie? And I vividly remember picking up the Grant Morrison run around this time. And they made him change the costumes to black leather because that's what they were wearing in the movie. So that, at least for me, this is the first instance I kind of remember the comics looking at the movies and being like, hey, they're trying to be like us. Maybe we need to be like them because that's where the money's at. But in terms of the quality,
that's a great point.
Yeah, in terms of the quality of the movie, which, by the way, the Grant Morrison run, it's must read in my opinion. It's great if you guys haven't checked it out.
I hope I'm list soon.
But in terms of the movie, I don't know how well it's staged. I'd like to sit down and watch it with fresh eyes. I thought it was awesome back in the day. I really enjoyed, especially like the intro, where you see Rogue. She's kind of sitting there flirting with her boyfriend, playing the piano or what have you, and then they end up touching one another, and then Rogue freaks out, and then that's like how they start the intro of the movie, and then they start dropping like the dialogue with the Patrick Stewart stuff directly from the comics, like in the not too distant future and that stuff. I thought that was really cool and neat. I really liked that intro. And then of course, maybe for me, the show stealer was Ian McKellen as Magneto. I thought he was phenomenal in that movie. I really wish there was a way they could have went ahead and made his own movie. Eventually, a movie we'll talk about coming up, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Actually, we won't talk about it because it's in 2009, so we don't have to talk about that crap tonight. But that movie tanked, therefore the Magneto story never happened. So, but nonetheless, I think it would have been cool.
Was that queued up to happen?
Yes, it was going to be Wolverine, then Magneto, basically. But one thing tanked, so they didn't go along with the next one. Go ahead, Andy. You looked like you had something to say.
Chris Barrett just threw me a curveball that I am so crushed I didn't think to talk about with you guys earlier in the discussion.
Whoa.
Yeah, the 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
Right.
Actually,
Go
on
Ninja,
that
go
note, I
Ninja.
have one thing to say. I said Batman and Robin was the most disappointed I had left. The
He's
first
gonna
time.
go.
The real
Here it
first time was Turtles 3. That movie sucked.
Turtles 3.
Terrible. Horrible. Casey
I
Jones was
What were the
terrible.
years of release on these Ninja Turtle movies?
most of them were like, it was like 90, 92, and I think 95 or something like that.
Okay.
90 and 92, great. Big thumbs up for those two. Turtles 3, terrible. Sorry, there's my
Terrible.
thumbs down.
Terrible.
Well, that's all I
right.
got to say about that. I know I'm wearing the Turtles hoodie. I should have mentioned that. I got the posters over there and such. But anyway, we'll keep going here because we got another huge footnote coming. So obviously we talked about Spider-Man going to Sony. So guess what was next in 2002? You get Spider-Man. So Andy, do you remember going to
Tobey
see
Maguire Spider-Man?
Yeah, Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Here we go.
So
So
Andy, did you like this one?
this is where you guys got to help me out. I did catch bits and pieces from 2000 to 2006 or so, but I was in the military at the time, so movies
Oh, okay.
were. I mean, I caught a little bit here and a little bit there, but yeah, I sold off my whole comic book collection for beer money. You know, Marines drink. This we drink and we fight. So comic books and movies weren't a thing at the time for me, and that's where I'm reliving a lot of that, is piling up a lot of these series and rewatching.
Sure. What about you, JB?
Okay. So, man, I hope I'm getting this right. I don't want to fuck this up. So, when I took this, my wife, I took her to go see this, and I was all pumped on this, and she immediately looked at me because they changed his fucking power set. I mean, he never shot webs. He never, she's like, wait a minute, what happened to the cartridges and the utility belt? And I'm like, yeah, this is all new. They're making this shit up. I've never seen anything like this before. Hold on. And then I'm like, why would they do that? What was there something wrong with Spider-Man that they had to go change his power set in the movie? So I was
that question. Marvel. You know what Marvel did? They introduced this storyline called Spider-Man the Other, and this was like maybe a year or two after the Spider-Man movie. And in that, he basically almost gets killed off, and then he has to like go in a web cocoon, and he comes back out, and guess what? He has
shoots
organic webs.
What?
So once again, Marvel looks at what's going on in the movie.
adapted.
Yeah, we're doing that instead of the comics reflecting the movie. The movies.
I have been reading Spider-Man my whole life, so I get up there and I'm like, what the fuck is that? No, that's not what happened. No, that's not what happened.
I could see,
and I was kind of bummed on that.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it because there were parts of that and the villains, and I thought there was some good stuff they did with the villains. I thought there's stuff they could have done better with the villains, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, why change his power set? That's stupid.
I think they just did it for simplicity. They didn't want to have like this whole scene of a teenager making that type of thing. But that's what Spider-Man did. I agree with your point, JB.
The kid was a genius, man. He was a scientist genius. Come on, give him his due.
That's one thing all the movies have gotten kind of wrong. Is I want to see the genius Peter Parker instead of like this, happy-go-lucky, luck is for losers type Peter Parker, which he's kind of that too, of course, but he's also a genius.
Oh, there it is. Look at William Byrd busting it out, saying Sam Raimi stated, who the fuck are you, Sam Raimi, man? Come on, man.
But anyway, I do have to say this about this movie. Like we talked about X-Men earlier. I think this is the movie that like started to get general audiences interested in comics, in my opinion. I remember being in college at the time, and there were a lot of people, you wouldn't see them ever in a comic shop, but they loved this movie in droves.
It did what it needed.
Yeah, it did what it needed to do.
It did what it needed to do. It made a lot of money.
If you're ever going to create an origin story for a character,
Adam. Yeah, I'm hung up on that.
Your bread and butter type movie. If you go to it, it's just a nice origin story for Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man. They did a pretty solid job with the Uncle Ben death. It's to that point, it's nothing we ever need to see again in Hollywood. We're good on that. Just watch this movie.
Please don't do it again. Don't ever do it again. We've seen it.
Also, my honorable mention has to go to Macho Man in this one. My throat's still a little bit hoarse from a cold I had last week, but Bonesaw is ready. See, I can barely do it. I can't do it justice. So,
very good. Well done.
Got you for 3 minutes of playtime. And then he had Bruce Campbell as the ring announcer. One of my favorite scenes in all of comic book moviedom is that whole
true.
scene, of course, as a
That's
wrestling.
true.
I remember that clip. Yeah.
So
I
gotta love
remember
that. But the show stealer in this one has to be J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. In my opinion, maybe a hot take here, the best comic book casting ever.
Wow.
I got to look this up now.
Very interesting.
That's my opinion. I know we got Hugh Jackman as Wolverine,
Comic book casting.
and I know there's a few others that people talk about, but I think J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Even before I saw this movie, when I thought about J. Jonah Jameson, I was reading him, the voice in my head was eerily similar to J.K. Simmons once he was in that movie. I'm like, holy crap, that's J. Jonah Jameson. There's no
Don't you
doubt
think? Don't you think the cat that's doing Deadpool was like, oh, man? I just said, yeah, he's Deadpool. He just always had that personality in his other movies. I'm like, yeah, I could see him doing a good Deadpool.
Well, he had a whole movie and he messed it up once, so luckily he got a second.
He didn't get to talk.
Yeah.
You fucking shut Deadpool's mouth. That makes no sense. That's his whole freaking character. His whole character is his smart ass mouth.
And then before,
I mean, how's he supposed to turn to you and say, "Can you believe this?" And then everyone goes, "Who's he fucking talking to?" If he can't talk, that was the stupidest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah. See what, man? J.K. Simmons, I'm with you 120%, man.
So one last note on Spider-Man. We got to go to the chat real quick. Chris Barrett says, William Dafoe ruined my dreams as a kid.
Good.
He wasn't a fan of the Green Goblin in that movie.
Didn't like him.
So let's keep moving on. 2003.
Here we go.
2003. It starts off with one really good one, in my opinion. My personal favorite X-Men movie, X2. So you get the Bryan Singer sequel to the X-Men movie. So it took 3 years back in the day. That's how long it usually took for a sequel to come out.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of X2? JB, I'll start with you because you're the expert.
I need you to refresh me on the real quick on the storyline X2 and
X2,
what it was.
that's the one that starts off with Nightcrawler in the White House.
Okay, so
Oh yes.
Let me start.
This is good. Go ahead, Andy.
This is the first. I've caught this one. The first 5 minutes of this movie is probably the best 5 minutes in any X-Men movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have stuck with that and delivered that, holy moly. That first 5 minutes of that movie is talked about on so many other websites and so many other groups and people. Primo.
Oh,
man, is this copyrighted? Can I say it?
Drew Manchu, baby. What's going on, Drew?
Baby.
Got some backup here, baby.
I thought it was copyright. I wasn't sure if you could say it.
You can say it. It's all in the public domain. It's my gift to you.
There you go.
I need another gift, though.
So X2, definitely. X2. Yes, I agree with you, Andy. Definitely.
X2.
Yeah.
Talk about all that HGH they pumped into Hugh Jackman's system to be as ripped as he's ever been in that Wolverine scene where he's just ripping Stryker's men apart.
Come on.
That might have been the best thing that the X-Men movies did was that mansion assault scene with Wolverine just tearing everybody apart. I loved Logan. I thought it had a lot of merit. I'm a big fan of the alternate timeline trilogy, including Apocalypse. I think that it's an underrated film. I think that if it's a quadrilogy, if you include Dark Phoenix, which not that bad. Had no reason to be, but it wasn't that bad. It's not, it's not the abortion that everybody talks about it as. It's nowhere near as bad as Fan Four Stick or Suicide Squad. So let it live in its own little area. If it was part of the MCU and they could have used Skrulls and Kree and all of that and every ounce of the cosmos to bring in some shape-shifting aliens, that probably would have been better. But good stuff. X2 though, man, best of the bunch.
What's your take on that first 5 minutes though? Of X2?
First 5 minutes of X2. That's the Nightcrawler White House scene. That's amazing as well. It's up there with the top things that I've seen in X-Men films.
Thank you.
I think the Juggernaut ripping Deadpool in half.
Yeah.
Logan finally stabbing people in the face.
Yeah.
The Wolverine attack scene, the White House attack scene, and I have to think of just half naked Rebecca Romijn. Can we put that up there?
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence too, who was like really good in the first movie she was in, and then after that was just like, nah, I don't care.
I'm Hollywood now. Dang.
Good stuff.
Her death scene in Phoenix was pretty good.
I still haven't seen Dark Phoenix, and I want to, but everything I'm reading online is like, oh man, I just don't want everybody else's opinions to kind of sway or determine my opinion, because Sophie Turner?
Yeah,
she has that Dark Phoenix look that she has the look on paper. A
lot about the movie is the right look.
Yeah,
I'll just say that right there. A lot about the movie is the right look. There's a train scene, which is like
that's the best scene of the whole movie.
Watch
like that. Don't even watch the rest of the scene. Don't even watch the movie. Just watch that scene. You don't even watch the rest of the movie. Just watch that scene.
Yeah. Wow. Finally, it's X-Men fighting like X-Men, and it's what you kind of been waiting for. But it just took too fucking long to get there.
To get
like 12 goddamn movies, half of which are in the stinker pile. So what are you gonna do?
What's next on our list?
My closing thoughts on X2. I kind of had my like breakout stars in each movie. So for me in this one, obviously Alan Cumming is Nightcrawler. It's a shame he didn't like the makeup they put on him. I would have loved to see him come back to the role eventually. Yeah. I thought he was phenomenal in this. I got a special shout out for Kelly Hu as well as Lady Deathstrike. She didn't make too many appearances. It was kind of her breakout role though. So definitely, it's still my favorite of the X-Men movies, X2. But unfortunately, also in 2003, here's a one you guys will probably like or not like. Daredevil starring Ben Affleck. So Drew, Daredevil starring Ben Affleck.
Daredevil starring Ben Affleck fails on a number of levels, but it's not as bad as you guys are making it out to be. There's some fun stuff in there. The blind playground fight with Elektra, where he's Matt Murdock, and they're kind of just horsing around. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun. I thought that Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin could have been really, really good. I think it was a bad script, but I think that you feel the power of the Kingpin where they're having that final fight. He's pounding them pretty good. Colin Farrell should not be in anything.
Yeah.
I will say this quickly about Colin Farrell. He wasn't of the train wreck that was True Detective season 2. He was the best part of that train wreck.
I did not watch past the first episode.
No one else did either. But anyway, I want to give him a little bit of. But
I watched the whole damn thing.
Yeah, Andy did. Andy also has time to burn, just like you.
But yeah, I mean, my problem with Daredevil, it's incredibly average. Like I said, I don't think it's as bad as everyone remembers. But you just watch that movie, and it's one of those movies. You just check your watch. You're looking at your phone.
Right. The whole Bullseye Elektra plot has no reason to be in that movie. And
then there's this part where, like, Daredevil, like, he just lets a dude get his head ran over on the train tracks. Like, I don't remember Daredevil being this much of a killer, so I took, kind of offense to that. But
the current run, he accidentally kills a guy, and he's been pining over that whole moment for 14 issues. He's like, how could I have done that?
Right. Yeah. And at least in this one, like I said, I think the breakout star was easily Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. They could have went places with Kingpin if they had some sort of like MCU style continuity. I would have loved to see him in multiple movies, but unfortunately, this is the only time you get him as Kingpin.
You know what I don't remember is I don't remember people caring about the race change for Kingpin. I know that the ultimate Kingpin was black. Correct? Is that a true story, or am I wrong about that?
I think they just cast.
I don't.
Mark Duncan because
he's big. Yeah, because he was big, and you know what? And it worked out, and like there was no public outcry about it. So, but nowadays everything's so mainstream. If like you got to count the eyelashes on a panel of Rob Liefeld's art before you cast Domino, and people will shit themselves.
I feel like it kind of helped. He was also in The Green Mile, where he was like the biggest teddy bear of all time in any movie ever. And then you have to see that poor guy get executed in an electric chair because he didn't want to throw someone else under the bus. And it's like the most heart-wrenching, depressing scene in movie history.
To make this sad, that's not where I thought this was going, Drew. I was laughing so hard because I was thinking of
well, it's about to get a little bit more sad because the next movie on the list is The Hulk by Ang Lee. Does anyone have any memories at all about this one? Because I think I fell asleep during this one. It was a snooze fest.
So this is Edward Norton.
No, we're not even there yet. This is God, I gotta call Eric Bana.
Bana from Troy.
Eric Bana.
Yes.
Oh,
Eric Bana was in a bunch of stuff for a little while, and now he's not in anything anymore. And this movie is part of the reason why. And I'm going to tell you right now, this movie also not that bad if you're a Hulk fan. If you're a fan,
everything's not that bad,
but here's the deal.
Don't waste your time watching them. They're not good.
Everybody wants to talk these days about how a Spider-Man movie doesn't need to have Uncle Ben in it. Let's just get as much Spider-Man continuity as we can in a Spider-Man movie. Well, this is exactly what they did with a Hulk. They took 30 years of Hulk continuity and squeezed it down into one movie, and it was all over the place. Why? Because comic book continuity is by nature all over the place. It's a serialized format that has to keep you interested every single time that you open those pages. You got to be like action, action, action. Here's intrigue. Here's a story. William Byrd wants to talk about Hulk dogs. There are Hulk dogs in the Hulk books. Okay. The majority of Hulk's continuity was retconned at one point to having to do with his father basically experimenting on him and abusing him. Like that is what the Hulk became. The thing is, nobody wants that all in one movie. When you give us all that information up front, it skews what the Hulk is. But I would say, like, as far as like sticking to the comics, this sticks to the comics pretty well. It just takes 30 years of comics and says, how do we
jams it up into 2 hours?
Jam that into a 3-hour movie. It's almost 3-hour movie.
Yeah,
it's too long.
A coffee for this one.
It's too long. The performances aren't bad.
You think Bana did a good job as Banner?
CG is uneven.
You think Eric Bana did a good job as Banner?
I don't think he did a bad job as Banner. I think that there wasn't enough Hulk Banner in the Hulk movie. Like Eric Bana as Banner, not that bad. I think that he did a good job portraying that duality in that character, right? But there wasn't enough of that in the movie because they had to get the Hulk dogs in there. They had to get mean old Gamma Daddy in there to Nick Nolte or whatever. Was that Nick Nolte?
Stupid.
Yeah, he was in there. Yep.
It wasn't, it all came off as like, what are they doing to the Hulk? But in reality, that's the Hulk. It is what it is. Like, that's what it becomes. But if you find out in the third Hulk movie that the dad had all this to do with his origin, you'd be like, oh, that's fine. But it was just too much jammed in there. They just took Hulk continuities, put it in a blender. And the one thing that I really don't like about this movie is the CG on the Hulk is really good, but his size is inconsistent within the environments that he's in. So that takes you out of it a lot.
I didn't even notice that. Wow.
So before we move on to 2004, I remember, I think this was around the time when Jay and Silent Bob Strike Again came out. And the reason I'm mentioning this movie is Kevin Smith calls the ultimate shot toward the end of this movie where they have this like little scene where there's like a Daredevil dude and he's fighting and stuff. Like they're on a movie set. And the whole reason why this movie exists is because basically in their continuity of that movie, they're making a Jay and Silent Bob movie. And the joke is that all these Hollywood studios are picking up any stupid property they can get their hand on. And they're so desperate for properties, they even pick up Jay and Silent Bob to make a movie of. And just in today's movie comic climate, like, holy crap, was he absolutely right. I feel like every book that comes out now, everyone's like, oh, this is options. So back in 2002, 2003, whatever that movie came out, Kevin Smith called this in the early 2000s. So that was
I feel like in the early 2000s, people were buying properties actually to do something with.
Yeah.
I feel like now people are buying properties, optioning properties, so that the other guy doesn't get it.
Exactly.
Like, there's no plan to do something with 80% of these properties. They're just buying it to keep the other guy from being able to utilize it. Right. I feel like it's kind of like a turf war deal where a lot of the speculation that happens now is this is going to be optioned. Oh, great. I got 10 copies for $1 a piece and it's selling for 10. The problem is nothing happens with it in 6 months to a year.
Right. Like, where's our Magic Order series? It's got Netflix on the fucking book.
All right, moving on to 2004. Andy, this one's all you, buddy. The Punisher with Tom Jane. What do you think about Tom Jane's Punisher?
Okay, so I was very skeptical going into this. I was really skeptical going into this. Remind me of the rating. I don't remember if it was PG-13 or R.
I'm sure it was PG-13, Andy.
That was probably
No, it was R. Who would have thought?
It was R?
What says here? I thought it was PG.
And they could have done so much more than damn.
I know, right? Well,
damn.
Seeing what they had to offer and going into the movie, I was like, oh my God. I didn't know where they were going to go with it. I didn't know what kind of storyline they were going to follow. My favorite part of this, though, is they brought the Russian in. And they
that was Kevin Nash.
Yes, thank you. They brought the Russian in. They had the incredible fight scene for what was it? Oh my God, was it like 8 minutes? 8 minutes of bashing and destroying and stabbing and
stabbing. Fuck the.
I think Tom Jane literally got stabbed during that scene.
Yeah, the hidden guns, the hidden grenades, the bad jokes. Mm-hmm. Like, I was very skeptical going into this movie with Thomas Jane being the Punisher because I was like, I don't know if he's going to deliver it. I didn't feel like Thomas Jane is who I knew him was going to be able to deliver this. I feel like he delivered. As a true diehard mega Punisher fan, I feel like Thomas Jane delivered. I feel like the writers and the directors and the producers delivered on the film. I feel like they could have gone another level up with the R rating and could have done more. But, with that R rating, he had one of the most quintessential, amazing Punisher items ever for anybody that's listening that's a Punisher fan. And that's that damn knife that he pulls out of his boot. And it's the spring knife that he launches right out and hits that guy right in the neck with that thing. And it's like the end all say all that Punisher uses. Like, here's my last hurrah. I need to save myself from everything. And he pulls out that spring knife and he launches that right in that guy's jugular and bleeds him out right there. Thanks for bringing this up because I love that movie. I actually do love that movie. I'm skeptical.
Can I ask a leading question?
Yeah.
As someone who loves that movie, can you explain to me what the fuck John Travolta was doing in that movie?
I don't know. I take it for face value there. I don't know, man.
I like that movie a lot too. I can rewatch that movie over and over again. But everything that John Travolta does in that movie is laughably bad. It's worse than his performance in Battlefield Earth, which is one of the worst movies of all time. Because of him, not
100% agree with you.
Right? I do agree 100% because of him, and I think that's the only thing that I can't stand about that Punisher.
That was one of the detractors. Yeah,
he also in the movie Swordfish at this point in his career. He's supposed to be some sort of crazy data specialist, thief, data stealer guy.
Swordfish had Hugh Jackman in a pretty cool role, and it also had Halle Berry titties, so it gets a pass.
But
there you go.
One of the quintessential things is this one. This one did something very fundamental that a lot of people don't pick up on. Magazine changes.
Yeah.
Don't have 100 million rounds in them. Change your mags. This movie was one of the first Punisher movies that did magazine changes on a proper level.
Wow. Interesting.
Seriously, like coming from a Marine Corps veteran who watches this stuff and calculates it, and I'm like I don't need to be counting, but I'm counting, and that guy should have changed mags 3 mags ago. And that stuff blows movies for me, like ruined movies for me totally.
Can you name another character in that movie besides the Punisher?
Well, the Russian,
and maybe the girl that was helping him that was any good, because I felt like every other freaking actor in there was garbage.
Dave,
I didn't see any other scenes where I was like, man, that guy was good.
So I'm struggling to remember right now, but that Dan or Dave or something Piercy, that guy with all the piercings who sticks up for him when he's getting questioned and they're ripping all the piercings out of him. that was a good role, and that actually is pulled from the comics to some extent, if I remember correctly.
Ooh. All right.
All right, so moving on, we got another good one coming up. Hellboy.
Oh,
Hellboy, JB.
I enjoyed the hell out of Hellboy. I hadn't read any Hellboy. I hadn't read any of it. So, and that's a pure kind of fantasy, and I dug the cigar, and I just dug it. That was my first ever introduction to the character Hellboy, and I was like, man, I need to look him up. I need to read some of this shit. This is funny. I like it. If this is truly his personality and this guild and this group, I dug it big time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie as well. Of course, Ron Perlman is the definitive Hellboy. I know they tried to recast it, but you can't do that to Ron Perlman. And then, of course, you had Doug Jones as Abe Sapien, and everyone remembers Selma Blair in that movie too. So, I absolutely love that. What about you, Drew? Do you like Hellboy?
Selma Blair, low-key hottie. All right. Special effects in this movie, extremely well done for the time.
Absolutely.
Well shot, well directed. Very efficient in the way that it's edited as well. I love Guillermo del Toro's vision here of Hellboy. I think that when he's given a bigger budget, he expands it so many great ways in the sequel. The one detractor I have for the original, which is like one of my favorite movies of this era, is that like everything's a fucking squid. Like everything's a squid. Hellboy as a hero, like in the comics, it's like funny. There are so many different villains, like the variety
monsters
of Hellboy
characters
and encounters is just off the charts. And they cover a lot of that in the sequel, but just in this movie, he's like, all right, we got convincing squid. Sorry, we'll make everything a squid.
Nice.
Everything's a damn squid, man.
All right, what's next?
Andy, I know I can't tell if you're dry heaving earlier or coughing up a cat or a hairball, because next up we got Catwoman.
Ooh,
that happened.
I couldn't even bring myself to watch it.
I haven't either, to be honest. I've
seen it.
I watched the first part of it where I think Halle Berry's in some sort of antique shop with haunted items or something. I don't know. I'm not gonna watch it again. But there was a hairball or something.
A thing that happens in that movie.
Chasing an actual cat, and that's where I kind of checked out instantly. And the special effects are absolutely horrendous. For DC, this was an absolute bomb of a movie. It's probably the biggest bomb on our list tonight. Drew, did you watch this thing?
I have never seen it.
You're lucky. All right.
You know what? I always use this and Gotham. And I know a lot of people out there like Gotham say, why would you make a Batman movie? Why would you do that? You're talking about
Selena Kyle.
It wasn't even Selena Kyle.
Not even Selena Kyle.
Why? What? I mean, Halle Berry is hot. Give her an opportunity, but let her do some Eartha Kitt style acting there.
It didn't work.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I had no interest in this at the time. I have no interest in going back and watching it.
And by the way, footnote: Garfield movie also came out this year.
The Garfield movie?
We won't talk about that at all.
Well, Bill Murray?
No.
Cat for Cat. One and two
cats. Zero good movies. But nonetheless,
Garfield.
We've got one last good one for 2004. Actually, there's another one coming up that we got to talk about. But next up, Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
From one of the worst to one of the best movies. For me, this is the best Spider-Man movie, hands down. No debate, in my opinion. Absolutely love everything about this movie. Great part worth he puts the suit in the garbage can, walks away from the character. Then he has to really analyze what it means to be Spider-Man, what it means to be Peter Parker, and bring it all together. And meanwhile, you got probably one of the best villains of the series, and Doc Ock. Really messing with the fact that, he's friends with Peter Parker, but he's enemies with Spider-Man. I just thought the duality with Spider-Man and his villains, it works best and most effectively in this movie. So, JB, what are your thoughts on Spider-Man 2?
I thought Doc Ock was awesome and just completely stole the freaking whole movie. I mean, it was one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites. And the iconic scenes that come straight from the comics, the from the suit in the trash can to him, and then that ends up being framed on J. Jonah Jameson's behind his and he ended up stealing it back at the end when he decides to come back. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and they did a great job on this one for sure.
Drew?
I still think that out of the 3 movie Spider-Men that we have gotten so far, Tobey Maguire is the weakest. Not to say that this isn't the best Spider-Man movie that we've gotten so far. I love what they're doing with Tom Holland and the new universe, but man, 3 words for you guys. And Copa, get your hands on this one. You need some parental advisory here.
Oh, get my parental advisory.
Fucking Molina. Oh my God, this guy, he came to
owned
play.
it.
He did own it, and the thing is, he was
owned it.
Pitch perfect on tone for the Raimi Spider-Man movies. Raimi's got a lot of weird, crazy, cheesy going on those movies, and it's what's best about Raimi. And Molina got it. Like, he came on set and he understood what the project was, and he absolutely nailed it. I love him as Doc Ock. He's got the greatest delivery ever. Oh God, it's great. Makes Willem Dafoe look like a schlub.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that. Andy, any thoughts before we move on from Spider-Man 2?
Is that the one where he kisses Kirsten Dunst hanging upside down?
Yes, it is.
I've caught bits.
He does it in both.
Like that.
Okay.
I've caught bits and clips, but since we've moved on and we have a different Spider-Man in a different series, that's what really I've been focusing on and watching.
Sure. So it's the one with the I'll tell you, it's got the train scene. It's got
that was another really good
stops
scene.
The train,
and then they find out he's a kid,
and they're like, "Oh, well, we'll keep your secret." They carry him like Jesus. He's Jesus, Spider-Man. It's way better than when they did it in the Joker.
So
Spider-Man is worth holding up.
I need to do the series justice and actually sit down and watch those 2 or 3 movies.
Just watch 2.
Just watch 2. Yeah,
we'll get there.
The first one doesn't hold up. There's a lot of fun to be had in it, and it's a good movie to sit down and watch. But the Green Goblin costume is so awful. Just don't waste your time. Watch 2, ignore 3, and then you can skip both the Andrew Garfield movies. Even though I thought he was a pretty cool Spider-Man.
All right, so we're running a little over here, so we'll start going through the list again. Blade Trinity ends 2004 for this list here. So anyone got anything to say about Blade Trinity besides Triple H and the Poodle?
I wanted to like it. I couldn't.
Yeah, so did I. It just started getting stupid,
Yeah. Welcome to the superhero universe, Ryan Reynolds. This is the reason why.
Why does everybody need to have 3 films? Why does everybody have to have 3 films?
Blade didn't need a sequel.
Yeah.
It didn't. No, I agree with that 100%. Blade did not need a sequel, and it did not need a 3rd movie. And Ryan Reynolds being in that movie, all right.
That's why he became Deadpool, because he was in Blade Trinity, and he wanted to get
Wolverine one.
Yeah, he wanted to get into the superhero game, and he put himself out there for every opportunity he could after that point. So
I enjoyed all the bad jokes.
Yeah, so
like he just got a Whistler and he's got to add exposition.
He was shoehorned into that movie because he died in the 2nd one, and he's brought back the 3rd one.
Why did he come back? Because he couldn't have somebody else do the exposition.
Oh, Chris Christopherson.
Damn.
Anyway, 2005 brings us to Constantine. Drew, what are your thoughts on Constantine?
Constantine, the movie with Keanu Reeves, is the best thing Constantine the character has ever been in. That character is one note, and he's basically smoking, trench coat, Doctor Strange, blonde, and British, right? And what did Constantine the movie do? It gave him pathos, it made you care about him. It took away from him being British and having a trench coat and being blonde. And everybody's like, "Oh, that's not Constantine." It's way better. That's a good movie. That is a good movie. It's
Never seen it. I'm gonna have to put that on the list.
Seriously?
Watch it. It's a good movie.
Never seen it.
Probably one of the best DC movies ever.
Yeah, I loved it, and I think
up there were Superman and the Dark Knight trilogy. Batman.
Let's go.
So next up, we got Elektra. So next up after Elektra, we got Sin City. Sin City, one of the most underrated movies in my opinion in the comic genre.
Man, I want to talk about Elektra. Can't we talk about Elektra?
Go ahead. What do you got to say about Elektra?
No, I don't want to talk about
What do you got to say about Sin City?
So Sin City delivered something that we hadn't seen before, right?
Yeah, it was new. It was different. That's about it. It was new. It was different.
I really enjoyed Sin City.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't enjoy it. I got tired.
I enjoyed the like the anthology style storytelling where you got, different stories and different characters. And eventually, there's like a bookend for Bruce Willis's character. You get at the beginning and the end. You see the eventual intersections. And then, like I said, it's just a visually stunning movie, especially for 2005.
Definitely visually stunning for sure. It was new. You've never seen anything like that before.
And then it definitely brought back Mickey Rourke to the forefront of acting. So if nothing else, this movie brought Mickey Rourke back to Hollywood, basically. The next one, though, we got to spend a little bit of time talking about this one.
Can I say one last thing about Sin City before you move on? I think that Sin City succeeds on a lot of levels of storytelling, acting, and direction. It's not just the stylistic choices of that movie that make it successful, because they waited with the sequel, and it's got exact stylistic choices, and it's not even close to being as good a movie as the first one is. The storytelling they do, there's a lot of emotion in the acting, a lot of really great performances by an ensemble cast that is just like a who's who of who was available at that point in time. So I think that's got a lot of merit, and it's worth going back and revisiting. If you haven't watched Sin City recently, give yourself about 2.5 hours and do that shit and watch Marv beat the shit out of some cops.
Actually, before I move on to this next movie, I do want to mention one more that it's kind of like Daredevil to me. It's just average, and that's its big problem. It's Fantastic Four. So in 2005, we finally got a Fantastic Four movie because Fox, along with X-Men, they bought up the rights to Fantastic Four. And the first one, it's not that bad of a movie. I really enjoy Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans in this, is the Thing and the Human Torch. I thought they were great. As much as I like Jessica Alba in Sin City, she was like a cardboard cutout as Invisible Woman in this one, though, for me. She just, her good. Ian Graffoe, I believe, was Mr. Fantastic. Once again, did nothing for me. And then Dr. Doom was the dude from Nip Tuck, Julian McMahon or something. I think that was his name.
Yep.
Horrible Dr. Doom. I'm sorry. I thought he was going to be good, but
he's a great actor, though. Yeah, I think that script let a lot of people down.
But it was an average movie is its problem, I think.
I enjoy that movie with the exception of Dr. Doom. The first half of that movie is fantastic. The second half of it is like a lot of the Dr. Doom stuff that just doesn't work. The costume's terrible. And I think Alba doesn't shine here because she's not really given a whole lot to do.
It's true. So I definitely agree with Matt Dotzko. He says the actors were better than the script.
Agreed.
Absolutely 100% agree with that. But the next one I really thought we should spend a little bit of time talking about is Batman Begins, a big turning point for
Here we go. Now it gets good.
Yeah, that's where it gets real, in my opinion. So, JB, what are your thoughts on Batman Begins?
I thought this was huge. I thought this was a game changer. I thought it kind of changed. It was adult, and it was dark, and it was different, and it was my wife really enjoyed it. It brought people that weren't really watching comic book movies and were like, wow, that was really good. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The special effects I thought were fantastic. Come on, man. What are you going to say about the villain? I mean, come on.
It delved,
and to get that story that I hadn't, I don't even know if I really knew that interpretation of the story. You read so much Batman in your life, but really, do you go back and get this telling of the tale that he's going to go run off and climb the mountain and get the training and what the little fucking hooky things meant? I didn't know that's what those fucking things were for. I didn't know that. I thought that was a cool looking costume thing. That was part of the gear to battle. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it delved into his fear. And as somebody watching that, it kind of made me think about some of my fears too.
Yeah, I definitely like, we'll talk about the Nolan trilogy as we go on with this series, but I think I kind of like how he themes the movies. Like, I think, The Dark Knight, when we'll talk about that at the end of this show, is going to be chaos. This one is fear-based. So you get the combination of, Ra's or Ra's al Ghul, as I call him in this one, and then Scarecrow, which are both kind of like, they're really like testing the fear of Bruce Wayne in this one.
Oh,
and they just, everything that, and it's just a movie that they took. They let Christopher Nolan, who, is one of these like more artsy style film directors than, an action based film director. And he actually is like, I would like to take a comic book property and do something with it. And it made it feel gritty and grounded more than any other comic book movie. But it did so in a way that, it definitely was a great film to present to general audiences rather than the comic book fan, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. You didn't have to be a Batman fan to appreciate that movie at all. And there were probably tens of thousands of people that became Batman fans because of this movie.
Absolutely,
I agree.
I think it absolutely. You can say what you want about the Schumacher Batmans. I happen to be a Schumacher apologist, but I thought that this was fantastic. My favorite Batman movie. I think The Dark Knight is a better movie in a lot of different ways.
I don't disagree with that.
Movie. Not a Batman movie. He's a secondary character in that. He's a support character. Maggie Gyllenhaal, just come on. Why is she allowed to be in things? And the chick who played what's her name in the first one, the Dawson's Creek lady, she's terrible too.
Yeah, she was probably the weakest part of this movie.
She's just not good. And Maggie Gyllenhaal is just as bad. So this one, though, the one thing I remember about Batman Begins is it like crept up on me. Like I was like, wait, there's a new Batman movie out? I wasn't. This was like no trailer hype for me about Batman Begins really until like right before the damn thing dropped. And now it's like, oh, about the new Batman movie coming out 4 years before they even start shooting. Like, so this was something that kind of like came out of left field and was really enjoyable. The great tease with the Joker card at the end, and they actually swing for the fences and totally nail it on the sequel. It's like, how do you?
Yeah,
I mean, it's unexpected in today's day and age, and I really enjoyed it.
I like how they told the story of, instead of, the Batmobile being some funky looking goofy ass thing that you've never, what? Here's something that the military was developing.
Yeah,
we can take this and turn it into what you talking about. Oh,
Morgan
what
Freeman,
else is the military working on? And
Michael Caine as Alfred and Lucius Fox just completely
Lucius
killed it in this movie.
Killed it.
Yep. I mean, personally, I think Christian Bale was a slight detractor, very subtly slight, because of some of the things that we found out a year or two after some of these movies have been filmed, and going back and watching them again, it's like, man, he really nails the role, but he just doesn't seem like a wholesome person for that role.
I don't know. I think he's a piss poor Bruce Wayne. I think he's a fantastic Batman. That's Batman now. You think?
I
agree with that. Yeah.
At the same time, every time I see Bane in a comic now, I'm like, I was born in the dark.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Batman later, but we're going to keep chugging along. X-Men: The Last Stand. This movie was a big disappointment for me. I thought it was a huge step down from X-Men 2. Definitely bruised the franchise for me.
Again, why do you have to have 3? It's all about everything trilogy.
The only standout for me in this one was Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I could have watched the whole movie. It was just Kelsey Grammer's Beast. But the rest of this movie, huge letdown for me. Drew, you like you some X-Men. What did you think about X-Men: The Last Stand?
There are very few redeeming qualities to X-Men: The Last Stand. The Magneto mutant breakdown at the beginning, where he's just tossing trucks around. Pretty badass, man. I think that Ian McKellen as Magneto, just kind of like old man going, bloop, bloop, bloop. is like that's just as much fun to me as Fassbender being like, oh, like I think that his character in that movie was really great. I like Jamie Madrox being a part of the plan. Or come on, you can't hate on Madrox.
No, Peter David went and saw. I remember Peter David telling the story. He went and saw this movie, and he's the notoriously the writer for X Factor, so therefore big Jamie Madrox guy. And he said he almost left the theater when they did the whole like, oh, here's a whole camp, and then Madrox just sitting there like, oh, take me in, guys, it's just me. And he's just like, why? So Peter David even got
exactly what Madrox would do. Peter David doesn't understand his own creation, apparently.
It would have been the clone that went with him, and he would have just disappointed. Whatever, go ahead.
It's fine. Vinnie Jones saying, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Like, kind of redeems everything that's terrible about that Juggernaut character because he says the line. I mean, the movie is not good. It's not good. Okay, there's no way to defend what they do to certain characters in this movie. James Marsden as Cyclops, like what a fucking waste! What a waste of a good character actor and a good character. Just wipe them off. Like
JB,
more better show up and then disappear.
Nah, I don't want to spend any more time on this one.
Okay, we're gonna cleanse our palate a little bit. V for Vendetta.
Yes,
I enjoyed this.
Yes,
I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah.
I never read the book, but this was a movie that
80s
that snagged me from the. And this is also another one of those movies that I have a hard time passing up, man. When it comes on. There's just something cryptic and spooky and just it runs at the right pace to keep you guessing about what's coming up next. And I don't know, I dug it.
I can't believe that the same actress, Natalie Portman, in this was the same Natalie Portman in the Star Wars movies. She was so much more likable in V for Vendetta, in my opinion, than she was.
I've got a 4-word review for V for Vendetta.
Here we go. 4 words.
Portman, bald, still hot.
She was.
Big shout out to Hugo Weaving. He did excellent in this movie as well. Andy, did you see this one?
Yeah, it's very thought provoking, and it's one of those ones where when I see it on the TV, I stop changing the channel and I watch the rest of it.
Nice. All right, we'll keep chugging along here. 2006 continues with another. It's kind of like the Ang Lee Hulk for me. Decent actors in it. It's okay, but the script fell flat. It was kind of boring. Superman Returns.
Ooh.
Kevin Spacey's a fantastic Luthor.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to like this so much. I wanted it to be huge.
I agree with Drew.
The scene where the bullet compacts on his eyeball, the white of his eye, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the rest of this movie is just like, oh, yeah, well, this is my secret baby. And then there's like this real estate on. Let's make Crystal Island because we can totally grow things on that Crystal Island.
Yeah. I watched it once years ago, and the only thing I remember is like the last 5 minutes.
The first 5 minutes are good. The last 5 minutes are not, and everything in between is really not.
Yeah, like I said, the shot with him getting shot in the eye and he no-selling it basically, to put it in wrestling terms, easily the shot of the movie in my opinion. Beyond that, like I said, Kevin Spacey's performance not bad, but this movie just did nothing for me.
The rescue plane scene at the beginning is good.
Yeah, I will say this: Brandon Routh, at least, like with a good script, I think Chad from Comic Core and I have been talking about. Brandon Routh could have had a phenomenal career as Superman, but he just wasn't given the right script in my opinion.
I don't think he was big enough either.
Now, this is the.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I don't want to waste any more time on it either. That's fine.
Anyone watch Ghost Rider?
I watched that original Ghost
the Nicolas
Rider.
Cage Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're done. We can move on.
Okay.
Keep going.
It's not good.
3.
It's also not good.
Yeah.
And we're done. We can move on.
All right.
What's in the next year? God.
Spider-Man 3 would have been better if Nicolas Cage was Venom.
You're probably right. 300. Zack Snyder's 300. Drew, what do you think about Zack Snyder and 300?
This is Sparta.
I loved it.
Sparta.
I don't want to curse. I loved it.
Gerard Butler kills it in that movie.
Kills it.
Right?
I actually had to look up the history. I mean, I wanted to know the real story. and found out all the different history about it. And I'm like, wow, this was it got me big time.
It's just enough reality and reality in the combat to kind of draw you into the mythology that they plug into it, and just aesthetically, every choice that Zack Snyder makes for this movie is pitch perfect.
I thought it was fantastic. The fight scenes were something new, special. The gore, standing on the piles of bodies, and like, what do you mean? It's gonna be a tough day, huh? Go ahead and send some more. What else you got? I mean, it was just fantastic. I literally researched the different stories and found out why a marathon is a marathon and the 26 point something miles. It was crazy. It was good stuff.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. It was written by Frank Miller based off of prior events. Yeah, okay.
All right, so next up, we got Galactus Cloud, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Anyone actually enjoy
that? Actually made it to the movie screen?
Oh, you like this?
Drew, go ahead, Drew. Just do all the talking on this one. I'm not going to talk about it.
Everything that's wrong with the first Fantastic Four movie is still wrong with this movie, right?
Okay.
But there's everything that's right with the first Fantastic Four movie is still right with this movie, and you get Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer is badass. The effects on the Silver
Surfer,
badass.
Awesome, Silver Surfer are the only part of this movie that's badass.
You get the interrupted Fantastic Four wedding at the beginning of this thing. And it's like, of course that's going to happen, right?
And then they tease the whole movie that you're getting something that you don't.
So in the end,
here's the deal: is Galactus is a universal constant that looks different to everybody, so it's not really that big a deal. I think that it's wasted. I think that this could have been really, really good, but it's also one of those movies that, like, I don't care how shitty this movie is, I have fun with it, and every time it comes on, like FX or FXXC or whatever the hell kind of third-rate movie FX channel it comes on, I'm going to sit down and watch it. Wow. Sorry.
All right, so that brings us to the final year we're going to cover tonight, 2008, a huge year in terms of comic book movies, the year that changed everything. So we're probably going to cross over a couple movies here so we can get to the main ones we want to talk about. So I got to bring up The Spirit.
Nope, pass.
All right, we're good.
Wait. That's worth a watch. Come on, you got to watch The Spirit to see the worst movie ever made.
We're going to meet Drew. I'm kidding. Andy, anyway, Punisher Warzone, I think it skipped most theaters, but this is an underrated one in my opinion. What do you think about it?
Never seen it.
In my opinion, this is incredibly underrated as a Punisher film, and the only thing holding it back was the absolutely atrocious makeup for Jigsaw. Ray Stevenson does a really good job playing Punisher in this. They deliver Jigsaw the character, yet after the fact, the makeup is so atrociously bad, it's comical. And the movie just turns for a lot of people. It's just, it gets to that point when he comes back around and he shows up on the screen. I'm like, oh God, wow, what? Ray Stevens, sum it up, Ray Stevenson does an amazing job as the Punisher. They did a really good job with keeping it dark, keeping it gritty, keeping it real until you get to that Jigsaw. I can't.
They ran out of budget.
I can't get that. Oh my God! I would have paid double the ticket price to get a better delivery on Jigsaw. I seriously would have. That was terrible. And they had a diamond in the rough right there, delivering off of that Warzone storyline with the Punisher, and Ray Stevens was killing it in my opinion, and just kind of flopped. So the movie is worth a watch. As a diehard Mega Punisher fan, I'll watch it and I'll watch it and I'll watch it, but I just kind of laugh at some points.
Yeah, here's another underrated sequel, in my opinion. Drew, I'll let you take it away on this one. Del Toro's Hellboy 2: The Golden Army.
Oh man, the Golden Army. It does everything that Hellboy did right, and it does more, which is all you really wanted out of that Hellboy movie when you were done with it.
Sequel was better than the first.
Well, I mean, he gives him the opportunity to do world building because he had a budget. He had a budget to do a whole lot of practical effects in that underground market, which was just like a really great way of showing you the robust characters and species and monster types and all kinds of stuff that Hellboy had to offer. and it sets you up great for a sequel that we never got, that Hellboy 3. And I'm still waiting for Del Toro to be like, see, let me do this. You screwed it up with David Harbour. But yeah, Golden Circle was great. The Clockwork mechs are kind of fun. There's just a lot to love about this movie. Same greatness that you get from the characters and the interactions in the first movie, just kind of ramped up a little bit.
JB, any thoughts on Hellboy 2?
Awesome. Better than the first. I absolutely loved it. It was awesome.
All right, so we got one more movie to cover before we get to our main three here. Wanted from J.G. Jones.
Ooh, with the bending of the bullet, with the
I'm
gonna shoot a bullet in a circle. I'm gonna shoot a bullet in a circle.
Yeah, so I thought it was like Jedis with guns. I actually thought this movie was pretty cool, actually. And they're assassins. The only person who was really over the top of all people was Morgan Freeman. He's like, I never thought I'd hear Morgan Freeman say, "You gotta kill the motherfucker" at the very end of the movie. I just
You've got to kill the motherfucker.
Yeah, the most bold voice ever. But I really wanted it at the end of the day. I thought it was really cool. But the main movies we got to talk about. I guess first we'll cover the Incredible Hulk because it's first on the list. This one was the Edward Norton Hulk. That's kind of like the black sheep of the MCU because I think it's like it was Universal owned property. So I don't know if they still truly have that Incredible Hulk property in Disney where they can make a Hulk movie. I don't know what else is going on with that. There's still some weird legalities there, I believe. But do you guys have any thoughts on the Edward Norton Hulk?
Norton was better than Bana, not as good as the current guy.
There you go. Couldn't have put it better myself.
I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
And not in like a guilty pleasure way. I think that Tim Roth as Blonsky was fantastic. Some of the effects were really great. Everything that the Hulk did is something that the Hulk would have done in that situation. Liv Tyler, I could do without. Thunderbolt Ross in this movie, though, fantastic.
Yes.
And a better banner,
right? And we had a cliffhanger, right? Better banner, but we also had the leader as well. That was kind of the thread that got dropped. The Abomination fight hasn't aged well, but for the time was pretty darn.
It was pretty good at the time, yeah.
Pretty darn good, man. And the only problem I have with that fight is the lighting on the Abomination in some scenes is not great. But the Hulk looks amazing in every single one of them. This was the first of the Marvel post-credit scenes. This was the first appearance, if you guys are collecting first appearances, of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. This is a good movie.
And the post-credit scene was his first appearance.
Yeah,
wow!
I can't remember if this was like the first. I can't remember which movie came first. It was just first.
Hulk came out before Iron Man.
Before Iron Man. Okay, I just really liking this movie because not only did it set up all these building blocks for what we have today, but I also really enjoyed the throwbacks it had to the Bill Bixby series, Incredible Hulk, like the whole intro scene. Where you kind of it's actually I think the intro credits. A lot of that, the visuals are from the original series, which I thought that was really awesome. And then of course you got the subtle nods to Lou Ferrigno's in there, I believe, as a security officer. It shows be acting on a soap opera.
That's cool.
I love that original series, so I appreciated all the nods and little hidden Easter eggs.
Hulk in the Coke factory. With and then he's doing the chase scene in the favela. Come on, that's a good fucking movie.
Yeah, that's very underrated, Mike. Just like a lot of these other ones we've been talking about in 08. But in terms of 08 movies, there's two we have to talk about before we sign off tonight.
Yep.
One of the biggest ones, probably the biggest movie, the one that set up everything we're going to talk about in the next few parts, Iron Man. So, Drew, what was it like going to see Iron Man in theaters in 2008?
There is absolutely nothing wrong with this movie.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it. Every scene works. Even though Jeff Bridges is just like this villain at the end, it's perfect. It's perfect. He's well played throughout. You don't really see the turn coming if you haven't seen it before. Yeah, you watch it now and you're like, oh yeah, of course, yeah. You pick up on all of everything. But I mean, this is Gwyneth Paltrow's best role ever. This block of wood of a woman who can't act her way out of a wet paper bag makes you like Pepper Potts. How the hell does that happen? You get Tony Stark is a hot mess. And you see all of that in this movie. And Terrence Howard, who didn't stick with the character, is really good as Rhodey. Really good. I think it's a great movie. There's nothing wrong with it. The special effects are great. Everything holds up. It's fantastic. If you got bad things to say about this movie, you can fight me in the parking lot.
JB, what do you think about this?
No, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I was honestly kind of shocked that I don't want to call him a B-list character, but I mean,
C-list.
You hear Iron Man, and you're like, my wife's like, who? Iron Man? Really? Why are they doing a movie about Iron Man? And at the time, I'm like, I don't know why they're doing a movie about Iron Man. Let's figure it out. But it was really a great starting point and foundation to what they created with the Avengers, and it was so well done. Yeah, definitely. Just it's the boom to the current movie. I mean, I know there was big movies with the Batman and everything, but man, I really think it just started something that is so huge right now. I can't say enough about Iron Man.
Not to mention Favreau, right? Yep. Let's talk about this guy for a second.
Yeah.
The Swingers guy who makes weird indie movies gets a shot to take a Hollywood property to make a Hollywood property out of an intellectual property that nobody really knows about.
Like, wanted probably. I mean,
if you're not a comic book person, you don't know anything about Iron Man, and he made Iron Man the biggest superhero in the world for a decade plus.
Yep.
And at the same time, now he's doing The Mandalorian, and over at Disney, he did The Jungle Book, and he's doing everything everywhere. He's got his hands in every pie. He gets to be Happy Hogan in Spider-Man movies, for Christ's sake. This guy, he's like Favreau at the beginning of the 2000s. You would not have seen him as the director, producer, influencer that he is. I mean, him and Dave Filoni are killing it on The Mandalorian right now.
Yeah, what Robert Downey Jr. did on this movie, like he hit rock bottom in terms of what Hollywood thought of him. Like he was not even on the radar.
True,
for, like,
you're right.
Yep.
And I mean,
triumphant return. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. To take what happened in his life and take and put him in the role of Tony Stark, which went through a very similar phase in the comics. It was perfect casting.
That was
such perfect casting to the point now where when the comic writers are writing Tony Stark, they're writing with the voice of Robert Downey Jr. in their head. Now, comic writers said many times there's never really been a casting that has influenced a character in the comics to that degree.
Yeah, he lives it.
Yeah. Andy, any other thoughts on Iron Man before we move on to the last movie?
I'm right there with Drew, man. Come fight me in the parking lot, yo.
All right, so the dead last movie we're going to talk about tonight, it's the 1-2 punch, in my opinion. You had Iron Man, which is one of the biggest movies of 2008, but we can't finish up 2008 without bringing up Dark Knight. This movie hit like a Mack truck when it came in the theaters. I think Drew put it pretty well earlier. It's not the best Batman movie, but it's the best movie in the franchise. Batman, unfortunately, is a secondary character, but Heath Ledger took the world by storm in this movie. When he was originally cast, people were like, why did you cast the guy from 13 Things I Hate About You to play the fucking Joker? And good God, he knocked it out of the park.
This is the best Batman movie, in my opinion, bar none. But this is the best Batman movie, in my opinion, bar none. I'll say it. Yeah, I'll stick with it.
JB?
I don't disagree with that, but when I first saw this and, the Joker, I mean, what else are you going to say about the Joker besides, dude, he nailed it. He was 3 steps ahead of everybody the entire freaking movie, and he did it while laughing in your face. And it was just brilliant, I mean, down to, where they got the guy caught. And I mean, it was just the whole thing was the way they wrote him, the story. They gave him a chance to say, hey, by the way, Joker's not a fucking idiot. He knows what he's doing, and he is going to outsmart you guys, and he's going to laugh in your face while he's doing it. And at the end, he's going to actually put a question in your head that you're going to have to think about and go, wow, man, I never thought about that. Yeah. What would people do for money? How quickly would they fucking turn you in for the opportunity? Oh, it was great. I thought it was just fantastic.
Drew, final thoughts on Dark Knight?
It does a fantastic bit of world building as well. I think that if you watch Dark Knight Rises without watching this movie, you're like, what the fuck is going on here? But it gives you all the players in the mob. It gives you all the players in the government. Yeah. It gives you the way the economy of Gotham works. It gives you the Chinese money launderer that he's got to go get from China and get sucked up into a plane using weird, outdated military technology and all this shit. It's amazing, but more than anything, it gives you the most definitive performance of the Joker that we are ever gonna get on film.
It won't get any better than that.
Stop trying to make more Joker movies. Just stop. We got one. All right, it's in the can. Just watch this one.
Just mentioned it. Two-Face is also in this movie, and Aaron Eckhart did a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
he was overshadowed by the Joker's performance.
Agreed, but he was fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I like Aaron Eckhart this movie a lot, though.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh yeah, they did a great job of taking basically the long Halloween aspect of Gordon, Harvey Dent, and Batman getting together and trying to get their plan together, and it just falling apart in their face. I thought they did an excellent job of adapting that.
And the action scenes weren't overly CGI'd.
Exactly.
This being a newer film, if you will, a lot of newer films tend to over CGI things. These weren't.
You guys want to know what the best part of this movie is? Ledger's great. He should have. He get that Oscar for this one. I thought he did.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, this should have won Best Picture. This is probably one of the greatest films ever made, right up there with The Empire Strikes Back for me. But the best thing about this is when he goes to Lucius Fox in the beginning of this movie and goes, "Look, man, I got to turn my fucking neck," and then they change the costume so that he can turn his neck. And it looks weird when you look at that without having that scene kind of in the Batman costume looks a little weird by the time we get to Dark Knight Rises, but he can turn his neck. Oh my, he can turn his neck. It's great.
That's my last note about this movie. It's one of the first times I remember him using IMAX film to shoot a movie.
Rick point.
You guys like the bomb hospital scene. I remember they used to get that overhead shot. They use the IMAX cameras for those overhead shots, and they're just absolutely beautiful and stunning. So when that building blows up, you see every bit of that building blowing up.
I could rewatch that all the time. That scene I could rewatch every day.
Gotham's a character in this movie. It's every shot of the city has this feeling to it. And I feel like it was also a character in Batman Begins. It was just a different kind of look at it because it went from the gritty ground at Gotham, right? And it gave you the overview down into the dirt view of Gotham in this one. So it's like you're looking at a beautiful city skyline, but that there's corruption and evil and everything going on inside the city.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up part 1 of Modern Men at the Movies, the Modern Era, whatever you want to call this series. I don't know if we'll revisit part 2 as soon as next week, unless you guys just want to, but yeah, we'll definitely have to do a part 2 somewhere in the near future.
You got to dip into the aliens and Predator, and there's so much other good stuff.
Did you guys talk about Black Hammer already?
Oh yeah,
we sure.
Yeah, we did.
Oh man,
Bear Island was here. You missed it.
Bear Island was here.
Yeah, he started the show, so we talked about.
Looks like he got out of here just in time.
This would be the part where we usually do the randomizer, but since we're running a little long here, and I know JB's got another show to play in here.
I do. I got a show at the top of the hour, and I got to go to the bathroom so bad.
Let's just say fuck it, and I want to make JB read Saga Trade #1.
Thank you. Finally, Saga, please.
Next week. So I'm just saying, screw it. We're picking Saga.
Saga it is.
Next week. So we'll go into closing thoughts and shout outs here. So Drew, anything you want to plug? Where can people find you?
You guys can find me right here on the Comic Core every Wednesday/Thursday-ish. I'll be dropping a new comic book review at least one a week coming at you guys. You can also find me on the SNB network doing the Cantu Manchu review crew. That is on normally Wednesday nights or Thursdays, depending on how we get that video together. That's me and Jason Cantu. Comics Misexplained, talking about one singular book each week. You can also find me Friday night on the A Show. We all know what it is. You can find me here every once in a while when I show up. And if you guys comment on any video on the Comic Core between now and Thursday the 12th, this giant-ass Marvel Legends 14.5-inch Hulk can be yours. Hashtag Comic Core Smash. Y'all know already. If you don't know, now you know.
All right, JB.
15 minutes on my channel. That's where you can catch me. And then if you're not watching me, I got all kinds of shit going on. I'm going on late tonight. You want to be a guest?
I'll come by.
I need a guest.
I'll be a guest.
I need a guest.
We're just going to drop Seawood and just do this.
We'll just talk about more movies. I could probably stop by for a few. I don't need to sleep.
That sounds good. I just need to get. I'll put it in the monitor in the
Perfect. There you go.
Andy, you have the Pinkies Up podcast, which people can find in the description below.
Yep, we just recorded our 4th episode where we do like a 6-year vertical of a beer that tallies in at like 14.5%, and we get tanked. We have a good time. The link will be in the video description for everybody to check it out. If you like podcasts, if you like beer, you can look at that there, or you guys can find me here every Monday. Anywhere else I can help on the Comic Core family channels. And Supplements Comics family, I'm over there too. Come check it out.
All right, and me, you can find me. I'll probably be live tomorrow on my channel. Description's the link below. I got to do a Tuesday night live stream. I got a lot of stuff to show off. I got books on books. I'm getting these things for 75 cents.
What?
Also find out tomorrow. Thursday here on the Comic Core, we'll be going outside the issues, but we'll be going inside the issues on outside the issues because we're going to review Crisis on Infinite Earths issues 1-6, and we're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of Crisis on Infinite Earths because that's all airing as we speak. So look forward to that. But until next time, guys, thank you for joining us for an hour and 46 minutes. JB's got to pee. Woo. See you later.